Hey, former President George W. Bush was in a classroom filled with children, second graders, on 9/11 nearly 20 years ago. Imagine the questions that popped into the students' heads when he left the room and the bigger questions that followed when they got home and turned on the news. Since then, parents everywhere have had to have tough talks with their kids about that day and everything that's happening even now. That is why Dr. Carole Lieberman joins us to help you know what to say, how do these conversations. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us.
Thank you.
You know, Doctor, for a lot of children at home, they may not have been alive when 9/11 happened, or they may have been too young to remember. So I think it's the idea of putting this in context for kids without giving them too much information. Do you have any advice on kind of building that context out the gate?
Yes. First of all, it is really important. Some parents may think, well, they weren't born yet, or they really didn't understand. So why do I have to tell them about it? We really have to, all Americans have to remember 9/11. And because of the fact that, well, for one thing, because it's not only to honor the people who died and the first responders and so on, but it's also to acknowledge that there is still an ongoing threat of terrorism. And so kids need to know about this to prepare for their life.
Doctor, you brought up a good point here, talking about the ever-present threat of terrorism. In life, there is always going to be risks and threats. How do you have those conversations without making a child paranoid or giving them too much information? I think that's the balance parents are looking for.
Yes. Well, first of all, I call this conversation the birds and the bees talk for the 21st century. It's a conversation that it's a fact of life, and parents feel awkward talking about it, but it's a necessity. And there are ways to do that. For example, kids might ask, what is a terrorist? That's like a basic question that they would ask. And you can explain it like a terrorist is like, in terms that they would understand. A terrorist is like a bully on the playground. A bully on the playground is unhappy within himself. He's angry at everybody, and he wants people to follow his rules. Another example that I give, kids might want to know, why do terrorists set off explosions? They kill people. Well, you can explain it like a temper tantrum. Terrorists, want to, you can't really, I mean, of course it depends upon the age and the psychological maturity, but you can't soft pedal it too much to the point that they don't really understand. And of course, as they get older, you can give more details and so on. But an explosion, on why they terrorists make explosions, you can explain it like a temper tantrum, and then you can say, you have temper tantrums too, but you don't get your way just because of that. So terrorists aren't going to get their way either.
Doctor,
do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And Doctor, you were talking about ages and what's age appropriate. I know every child's different, but do you break it down to different sections? 0 to 5, 5 to 10. Any advice for parents on that when it comes to having these conversations?
Well, first of all, it has to be by the time that they go to school. Because if they have somehow been shielded from terrorism, of course, the anniversary is a perfect time. If a parent hasn't brought this up before, that's the perfect time to start the conversation, because they're going to want to know what is happening. They're going to see these images on television and so on. And they've already seen images of Afghanistan. And so, and you can't explain Afghanistan without explaining 9/11. Why did the United States send troops into Afghanistan to avenge the 9/11 attack? I mean, of course, it does get tricky these days because of what happened in Afghanistan just now, but you do have to talk about that. I give examples. First of all, you need to look at how they're feeling. Parents have to gauge their children. I talk about kids feeling scared, sad, mad, and bad. Bad, not doing bad things, but feeling a mixture of feelings that they can't actually describe in more detail. And, you can have them point to emojis to describe how they're feeling. So first, the basic thing is to get them to draw pictures, lots of things to express their feelings. And then, with 9/11, besides talking about all the people who died and what happened, I mean, you have to talk about terrorists having hijacked 4 planes and where the planes went and so on. But then you can also talk about the heroes of that day,
Doctor,
the first responders.
It's a very nuanced, complex subject, and I know we only have about 15 seconds left. I know you've also written books about having these conversations with kids. Where can we find them? Very quickly.
Yes, sure. I've written, my latest book is called Lions and Tigers and Terrorists, Oh My, How to Protect Your Child in a Time of Terror. And you can buy it on Amazon, or you can buy it on my website, which is terroristtherapist.com.
Doctor, thank you so much for joining us and having this very important conversation today.
Thank you.